Okay, so
Right. Oh, that
we
sounds
want
great.
to let's start off by talking about Jillian Michaels here.
Yeah.
We've heard little rumblings all week long. Get us up to speed here.
And you were exactly right. It is Bob Harper, and he was obviously this opposite Jillian. He was the big trainer on the show. They were the two stars. They had a falling out years ago, so that's not even really what this story is about. What the story is about is that there was a new Netflix documentary that came out a couple of days ago that is called Fit for TV: The Reality of the Biggest Loser, and it gets into some of the less great things that were apparently happening behind the scenes. Jillian Michaels was not part of the show. It's not because they didn't invite her on. They did invite her on, but she felt like she couldn't trust the makers of the show, the producers, that it was going to be a hit piece. And she said, okay, I'm not going to be a part of it because of that. Well, they did, for much of the show, not the whole thing, but for much of the show, they did criticize Jillian. And one of the things has really gotten a lot of attention, and that is what supplements were being given to these contestants who are obviously going through a very big change in their lifestyle. They went from being at home, being couch bound in many cases, eating whatever they wanted to working out nonstop, to eating only this healthy food, and they're tired on set, and because of that, Jillian was apparently giving the contestants caffeine pills, which the people who made the show said was against the rules. So there was a point where she got in trouble on one episode after she was revealed to have been doing this. Anyway, the bottom line here now is that Jillian says, look, this was never banned. It was never disallowed. I was told by the executive producer of the show that it was completely within bounds to give them caffeine pills. After all, they're allowed to drink coffee and tea and whatever else they want to. And she said it was never an issue. And for now, it to be made an issue in this documentary where she is being painted out as this cheater. And she says that's just not going to fly with me. And she is meeting with this guy named Brian Friedman, who is the attorney for Justin Baldoni and a lot of other celebrities. And she says, I'm going to go and I'm going to sue Bob Harper. I'll sue this guy, Dr. Huizinga, who is the head medical professional on the show. And I'll sue anybody else involved with it as well if you make false claims about me. So she seems to be fighting back. She is very upset about this. And on its face, it kind of sounds like it's caffeine pills, no big deal. But she is very upset that she feels that they're lying about her, I think, bottom line.
Yeah, you don't want your name smeared, especially because that's what kind of brought her to the headlines that gave her name. But caffeine pills, you're right. You don't need a prescription for that. So I don't really know. I mean, they could choose.
No, I think it's a great point.
To take it or not. I don't know. Especially if they had a doctor on there that was saying it was okay medically, like, okay, well, your heart can handle caffeine pills or whatever.
I can understand. I think, great point. It can obviously be dangerous, and you want to make sure that, again, people who are maybe not in the healthiest shape right now, that it's okay for them. But again, the coffee was flowing on set, the tea was flowing, and all that. So she says, I'm going to file lawsuits against these people. Now, it was also revealed as this whole show was being produced and aired that her and Bob had, like I said, years ago, had a falling out. In fact, he had a really, I guess every heart attack serious, but he had a serious heart attack where he almost lost his life, Bob did. And they didn't even talk in that instance. So it shows how bad the blood is, that they spent all these years together, made a lot of money together, had a lot of success together, but they're not even at the point where they can, shoot a text off to one another when you had a serious medical concern. So they don't like each other, and now they might soon be battling in court.
Man, okay. Jillian, I'm also told, brought up the claim that she was accused of giving contestants an illegal substance. So not something like caffeine, but an illegal substance that sent someone to the hospital, and that Maria Menounos wound up looking into this. What's that all about?
Yeah, right. And look, when we actually spoke with one of the contestants that won one of these shows, was the champion on one of the seasons, and he completely refuted that claim. Whatever that substance happens to have allegedly been, he says that the winner says that's not true. I never saw Jillian give anything that was illegal or that could potentially be harmful, again, outside of something like a caffeine pill. He says, I never saw her do anything like that. So that was also a part of the documentary that Netflix produced. You've got people that were on the show that said, look, if that happened, I never saw anything. never saw anything that resembled that.
Do you think that Jillian will have any teeth with these lawsuits? Because obviously Netflix is huge. They've got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
They have all the best fact checkers and lawyers
Right.
on their side. What do you think is going to come of this?
No, that's a great point. She's done really well for herself, obviously, but the means that Netflix has is obviously very different than what she has as an individual. So, yeah, look, I'll say this, that the guy, Brian Friedman, who she is meeting with, and it does look like if she does file a lawsuit, it will be with this guy, Friedman. He is no stranger to these really high-profile cases. He is, like I said, he's going back and forth right now with, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. And so he is really involved, and he knows what it's like to work a high-profile case. But I think it's a good point. Does she have the funds to see this thing through? I suppose that's the question. There's no guarantee that she ultimately sues Netflix, and maybe she just chooses to sue individuals, and obviously that would seem to be a lot more feasible. So if it's just Bob Harper, if it's just this guy, Dr. Huizinga, I think probably an easier path to victory for her. If it is Netflix, I think you're going to look at something that's very drawn out, very protracted, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Do you know or have any insight into why she opted to not participate at all as opposed to giving her version of events?
Right. Yeah. I mean, she says she just didn't trust them.
Oh.
But I think I come at it from the way you're looking at it. If you're on the show, at least you can have your say. And if they're not telling what you perceive to be the truth, at least you get your side of the story out there. Now she wasn't a part of it. You've got all these people who seemingly do not like her, who, they got their say. She didn't have her say. And that's the only thing that now stands as the record. She's since tried to come out, and I think we spoke with her for 20 something minutes on the phone the other day.
Yeah,
and she says,
right.
look, I've got receipts and emails and all that. But the bottom line is this show has become really popular. And when people watch it now, you never hear from Jillian Michaels.
Yeah, when you think about it, like, I understand her perspective to a point too, because why would they be making a documentary unless it was something juicy and ripping apart the show? It's not just, hey, look at this show that did well for people losing weight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. That's a heartwarming story, but I don't know if anybody watched.
She's going to have to,
They want the
present those
drama.
receipts as well.